everyone, Jason Gilbo here with Nick Tasso, taking a look at some stacking options for tonight's 13-game slate. Looking over, a pretty heavy pitching slate, so it's not a ton of stacking options, but there are a few spots you can definitely go.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some names that most people haven't heard of, but luckily we're here to kind of navigate you through that.
Yeah. First one, these guys you definitely have heard of. Michael Walker versus Masahiro Tanaka in Yankee Stadium. Yankees have, slightly over 4-run total. I don't think either of these teams are really looking for me to be stacked. Both these right-handers pretty good at limiting damage outside of really Tanaka's first game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could get a few one-offs in St. Louis, bats like Diaz, but other than that, this is kind of a game that I'm staying away from. It is a good ballpark, but it's just the pitchers are pretty decent. I don't think Tanaka is that great. He's kind of struggled, like you said, a little bit on early on in the season, but he still has pretty good name value, and he still can throw gems every once in a while, I believe. On the flip side, I wouldn't mind using maybe a one-off like Greg Bird. I know he's been completely awful so far, but all you really need at his price is just like a one home run, and that would kind of satisfy you.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are definitely more one-off team. Opening up, Brett Gardner's supposed to be back in the lineup tonight. Three lefties against Walker to start that. But for me, Gardner, Ellsbury, not huge upside guys. And I think I'm looking for a little bit more upside out of a stack. I don't think the Yankees really carry that.
Yeah, absolutely not. I know guys like Ellsbury is a little bit lower priced on the sites, but I'm just kind of staying away from this game. There's a lot more options out there.
Yeah. Baltimore, Toronto, Aaron Sanchez versus Wade Miley. Last night, disappointing offensive showings. Once again, Toronto's just been really bad to start the year. They're going to get another decent matchup here against Miley, who, is home run prone since last year, 357 WOBA allowed to righties. Josh Donaldson came up limping last night. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not really good to see when that happens to Donaldson, especially if you're on season-long fantasy teams, but that's besides the point. But I kind of agree with you. I think there's still some potential with Toronto. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a full 3-4 stack, but I definitely like the guys in there. You look at Miley, and he's given up a lot of home runs, and his last start, 7 walks, which is just absolutely crazy for a guy who's kind of a finesse pitcher. He didn't give up any runs somehow, but this just is what it is.
Yeah, so I think you can stack here. I think because it is a limited night for stacking, I'm okay with stacking Toronto. But once again, I think people are going to be kind of off them one on a full slate, and just because of how they've been performing to start the year.
Yeah, they've been one of the worst offenses really so far, and you haven't seen any huge nights from them. They've seen some tough pitching, but against Miley, I don't think he's anything to like. So the bats are pretty good. Like you said, potentially low owned because they haven't done much. So we'll just see how it happens.
Yep. And on the Baltimore side, Aaron Sanchez, definitely an above average right-hander. For me, it's one-offs if you really do want to attack Sanchez. It's not a whole stack for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. This Baltimore team kind of is all in, or they do absolutely nothing. You've kind of seen that now a couple times this year. So I'm kind of staying away from that. But I could definitely see if someone throwing some of the bats in there. To me, they're a little overpriced against Sanchez, but again, it's a good ballpark, so I can totally understand it.
Yep. Tigers, Indians, Trevor Bauer versus Daniel Norris. Looking at the Tiger side of things first, Vegas doesn't like him tonight, and I'm not a big Trevor Bauer guy. The problem is, outside of really Ian Kinsler, Nick Castellanos, Miguel Cabrera, I'm not loving Victor Martinez. I'm not loving Justin Upton right now, so it's kind of more just two guys that I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at Bauer, and he does have a lot of potential. He's definitely always matchup dependent, and unfortunately, it looks like this matchup for stacking wise isn't going to be great. Like you said, Detroit's struggled a little bit too. Name value isn't there, and they just haven't really performed. So I'm kind of staying away. On the flip side, though, I kind of like some of these bats from Cleveland against Norris.
Yeah, and you look at Norris. In terms of the slate, definitely one of the arms you can pick on. He did pick up things last year towards the end of the year, and kind of showed the ability to be what we all thought he was going to be. But yeah, this Indians offense certainly is hot. Guys like Lindor, I'm okay with. I mean, Encarnacion, Jose Ramirez, Brendan Guyer. I mean, Carlos Santana. I mean, they're all certainly in play. I don't mind stacking them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a lineup thing for me. My hesitation with Geyer, as we've talked about before, is he may only see one at bat against lefty and then get pulled maybe two at bats. So it just depends on how effective Norris is.
Yeah, it's always true with those platoon guys.
Mhm.
Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Tommy Malone versus Scott Feldman. You look at Feldman, I mean, has not been bad this year. You look over the long run, though, I mean, still not that good. Um, I look at these Brewers bats priced up a little bit higher, but when you guys get guys like Eric Thames and Travis Shaw for a cheaper price and their power from the left side, I guess I don't mind it here. I mean, on a limited slate, I'm okay with stacking Brewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see it. I mean, we've seen a few of the guys do a little bit better against lefties, but like you said, with Thames and Shaw lefty against Feldman, they could really do some damage. I wouldn't do a full-on stack just because I don't think there's too many options for Milwaukee when you look at a lot of the right-handed bats. So probably staying away, but I definitely could see a couple going there. As for Tommy Malone going on Milwaukee, I think the Cincinnati team has really been on fire lately, and I wasn't a huge fan of them a couple days ago, but now I definitely am. So I can see a pretty good stack here by Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tommy Malone, you're going to get obviously like Billy Hamilton who flips over to the right side, Jose Peraza from the right side, Duvall from the right side. Even a guy like Eugenio Suarez is even in play. And, Duvall's crushing the ball. Votto can handle lefties. So, I mean, I'm with you. You look at Cincinnati, one of the higher run totals of the night. This is one of the better ballparks. We saw just 6 runs here last night. I was expecting a little bit more, but I think tonight we definitely get the offensive explosion we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. My whole concern, even though I said I really do like Cincinnati, is just I think a lot of people are going to be on them now. They've been one of the better offenses over the past week and a half, so they might be heavily owned.
Yeah, that is true. Mets and Marlins, Edison Volquez versus Noah Syndergaard. Mets offense has certainly been playing well. I did not expect 17 runs last night, and I'm not expecting 17 runs tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of down on both teams. They just don't really do too much offensive wise for me to really like them. I know they do have potential as we've seen it throughout this week and a half so far, but I'm staying away from them.
Yeah, I mean, not really worth stacking here. I think if you're looking, you're probably obviously looking to attack Volquez, and I think that's just more of a one-off fashion.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think we were in a conversation to attack Syndergaard.
No, definitely not. Raising the Red Sox, Rick Porcello versus Chris Archer. Two above average right-handers. Obviously keeping me away from stacking both these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at Rick Purcell going back to last year; he was phenomenal at Fenway Park, and Tampa Bay really isn't that good of an offense. So I think he could kind of have a good start here. So there's no real need to stack stack against either one of these guys.
No. Padres in Atlanta, Julio Teheran versus Julius Chassin. Brave stack is in play. I mean, it's on the cheaper side of things. Chassin, not a good right-handed arm. I kind of like that new ballpark. I think it's going to help out some of those lefties.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that with Freeman, even Markakis as well. So there's potential there. Obviously, Shashin's coming off a pretty good outing, so I think some people might be away from that, away from Shashin. But I definitely like him. The Atlanta Braves, probably lower owned than you would expect, obviously, because they don't have a huge name value. So I kind of like them. It's typically not the best ballpark, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not anything, to write home about,
It's nothing special.
no, but I mean, 325 down the line, it's a little bit better than Turner Field. They kind of built it up for Freeman there. And as you said, I mean, Markakis should get a bump. Incayarte is all of a sudden, a big power lefty now. It won't hold, but I do like these guys quite a bit here. And as you said, I mean, should fly under-owned.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we're both going to stack this team, and then they're going to do absolutely nothing because that's DFS, right?
That's the way things are going, yeah.
Okay.
None of the Padres. No thanks
Oh,
for
you
me.
want to talk about Padres? Yeah, no, I'm good. We can go on to the next one, I think.
Yeah, Chicago, Minnesota. Dylan Covey versus Alberto Mejia. We'll get
Mejia,
that going
maybe
there. Yeah,
Mesa. I don't know, but you said the first name pretty well. That's something I can't do. So,
yeah. 8 years in Tucson, it did get a hold of me.
oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Dylan Covey, I think I can say. So that one was easy, but I'm not even gonna try it. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Both these teams, I mean, stackable. It kind of depends. I mean, the weather looks a little bit iffy though, wind blowing in, so it may not be that great of a stacking opportunity as far as the weather and stadium concerns go. I think Target Field's a reasonable hitter's park in the summer, but at this time of year, cold weather, I don't know how much I'll be looking from this game, even with the pitchers on the hill.
Yeah, I can see how you go that way. Obviously, both these starters, they don't have much name value going for them. So I think a lot of people might be stacking against them, especially for Minnesota's bats because they've looked pretty good lately. So this might be one of those scenarios where even though it's a good matchup hitter wise, I think I'm off it just because I think a lot of other people are going to be on it. And to really do win GPPs with stacking, you need to kind of be contrarian.
Yeah, you do, and I mean, it, the Twins are probably definitely going to be the more popular just because Dozier's been off to a good start. Max Kepler, Miguel Sano all hitting well. Once again, Joe Mauer hitting fourth always kills the stack. There's no way I just want this guy in my stack at all.
And the worst part about Joe Mauer's stack is that he plays first base, so it takes up other guys you could put there. It just is what it is. But some days you might just have to skip them. Put a different first baseman in there and just go 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2 and jump past it. So
Yeah. And on the White Sox side, I mean, they are going to give you four right-handed bats right up against the lefty. Um, I definitely could see them maybe actually being a little bit lower owned just because the White Sox are not a prolific offense. Last year it was kind of like we stacked them quite a bit and they just never really came through. And they are cheaply priced, so it's like if you do want to fit in a high price pitcher, still they're there.
yeah, absolutely. Chicago definitely came in last year as the most disappointing stack of the year. They were just atrocious whenever you thought they would do something good. So I'm still kind of weary about it. I did see Frazier's potential injury as well. So it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them. Plus, did you take a look at Mage's picture on DraftKings? It's kind of scary.
I haven't
His
seen that.
smile. Oh man, he's kind of creepy. So I don't know. I can't really trust going up against a guy like that, but who knows? I mean, lefty Chicago is a team that will hit lefties well, but they just were never really consistent enough last year to really pay off.
No, definitely not. Angels Royals next year, Dane Duffy versus JC Ramirez. I don't think either of these ones are really stackable. I mean, Royals offense just continues to be a down one, really outside of Moustakis.
Yeah, absolutely. It literally has frustrated me so much this year. How far they've fallen. I know obviously as people get older, they're not really as good as they once were, but I just feel like they took a huge step back and unfortunately it's just there really isn't much value even with the lower prices right now outside of like you said, Mustakis.
Yeah, and on the Angels side, I mean, obviously not the best ballpark. It's bottom five in home runs. Um, Going to the Angels side, I mean, Danny Duffy is home run prone at times, but um, I mean, definitely an above average lefty, and I just don't see the potential here with this Angels offense. I mean, they do have guys like Mike Trout, Albert Pujols with the power, but outside of that, it's not anything really that I'm jumping on board with.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy through the Angels offense that you would typically like is Cole Calhoun, but he'd get neutralized being lefty on lefty. So there's really not much to like here. I mean, they still have Escobar leading off, which is pretty bad.
Yeah. Houston, Oakland, Kendall Graven versus Dallas Keuchel. Big ballpark out there. Graven's pitched pretty well to start the season. Keuchel has as well. Keuchel's not even a big blow-up guy anyway. I think I'm off of this one. We're getting into the games where we're just off of anyway.
Yeah, I think we can go down that road. I agree. Houston, in my opinion, is going to have a pretty good game. And I feel like with Graveman, I think this is the night Houston goes off. This is just my feeling. I really don't have a lot of stock into it. But you remember Graveman last year, he would go so well. And then all of a sudden he would hit one of those starts and would just couldn't even get out of 4 innings or so, and it was pretty bad. So I think Houston, and they're going to be low owned because they haven't really performed that well so far. Plus, they got a bunch of righties in there, so I kind of think that Graveman could get hit hard, and Houston might be a good stack.
It's an interesting call. I mean, definitely going to be low owned. I mean, with guys like Springer, Reddick, Altuve, Correa, even Beltran and Bregman, if you want to go deeper into the lineup. I mean,
Reddick, did you say that?
yeah.
No, I passed. It's phased out, but yeah. I mean, so question for you: does the word "interesting" that you said means that you disagree?
No, it
Or
is
do you?
interesting because it's one that I certainly wasn't. I wasn't on. I mean, I can see the potential.
Yeah.
I've stacked Houston a couple times throughout the season. It's just going to be one of those ones where the stacking potential is always going to be there with those names.
Uh-huh. And I
So
and I think with Graveman, with all the bad beats I had with him last year, because he would look so good, and then all of a sudden he would hit teams like this, and he would get rocked. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of off him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not really looking to use Graveman tonight. But I mean, Houston bats. I think if you are building multiple lineups, that they're in play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
I think we've killed this story, so we can go to the next game.
Arizona and LA, Clayton Kershaw versus Zach Greinke. If there's ever, I mean, Greinke away from home was fine last year. One of the lowest rentals on the slate. I mean, no need to stack here at all.
No, I mean, old teammates rekindling their love for each other. I guess I'd just stay out of this one. It might be a pitcher's duel. But I will say I am kind of impressed how the Dodgers have hit so far this year, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Texas, Seattle, Felix Hernandez versus Martin Perez. I mean, any interest here? I could have some slight interest in Seattle, but Martin Perez is a guy who just is a ground ball pitcher. Kind of frustrating to stack against.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's one of the most frustrating things when you go up against Martin Perez, and he has those 6 innings that just look awful, and he has a couple base runners here or there, and then only gives up 1 run, or he throws 25 pitches in the first inning. You're like, oh, sweet, he'll be out soon, and that doesn't happen. So, no, I'm probably staying away. There's too many Seattle bats, in my opinion, who are lefties who might get neutralized. Not naming anyone in particular like Cano and Seager, but that might happen. I will say that I think this is the game Danny Valencia actually comes alive. He's been absolutely terrible against he's just been absolutely terrible all year. But against lefties, I mean, everyone kind of forgets about him. I play him every once in a while, and you just look at his ownership, and it's extremely low. And against a lefty, he's been good through his entire career. It's just if that's going to come today.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I see basically Seattle's just a one-off team because they do have some lefty mashers. And as you said, Danny Valencia, really nice price tag. Nelson Cruz, obviously we know his stature against lefties. Even Mitch Haniger, who continuously is underpriced. I mean, those are probably the 3 right-handed bats that I'd look to get exposure to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on the Texas side of things, I mean, this offense has been hitting well. I mean, Nomar Mazara has been absolutely phenomenal to start the season. Felix Hernandez might be still just good enough for me to not really stack here, and I think the ballpark as well kind of hurts them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. My feelings on Hernandez is to not stack against him just because he is King Felix, and 8 out of 9 starts he'll have 8 out of 9 starts he'll be good, but he'll have those 1 starts where he is a blowout, gets killed like he did in that Houston game last year. I'll never forget that, by the way. Still angers me to this day. And it was on a Friday too. So now that I'm actually talking myself into it, it might be a Felix Hernandez blow-up game.
If the narrative holds.
Do you remember that, though? It was a Friday last year. It might have actually been 2015. But anyways, it was definitely a Friday. I remember that. And he got demolished by Houston.
It was like 8 earned runs in like the first inning.
Yeah, and then he came out for the second inning, and I think he didn't even record an out. So it was on a Friday night because I remember I was out and I was checking my phone, and it literally ruined my night. So I don't think that's going to happen here. But Texas bats have shown a lot of life lately, so that could be a possibility. And to be honest, it'd be a very low-owned stack.
It would.
Going up against Hernandez, because you remember last year or that time against Houston, no one was playing them just because they were striking out so much. And Hernandez has huge strikeout capability, and I'm pretty sure the person who won all the money on all the sites that night had Houston stack.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Hernandez, I mean, against lefties since last year, average home runs per 9 rate. I mean, not missing many bats, 320 roll allowed. So, I mean, It's not. I mean, those are not, ace numbers against right-handed or left-handed hitters.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to remember, he's not old, but he's getting up there in age. He's been around for a really long time. And a lot of people, probably DFSers in our age bracket, probably still remember him as being the dominant force. And sometimes it's just not as is anymore.
It's definitely not really there. So I mean, you could actually do it. I don't think it's a bad set because one, they're underpriced for the matchup too. Everyone's under 4K.
Yeah.
So
I think we should play head to head, and I'll do Texas stack.
all right, I'm
All
done.
right, let's do that, and we'll
All
see
right,
what happens, and then we can revisit this with all the money,
yeah.
whoever wins it.
Colorado, San Francisco. Johnny Cueto versus Tyler Anderson. Um, no thanks for stacking. I mean, I don't really like this game in general for even one-offs.
Yeah, I'm really staying away from this game. I'd probably pick up one or two guys just for San Francisco just because Anderson hasn't been that great. Ballpark isn't good though for hitting. You could probably do narrative of Hundley getting revenge against his old team facing a lefty, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you have Aaron Hill who's 2,100 hitting fourth now with Buster Posey out, or Hunter Pence who's below 4K against the lefty. So, I mean, I guess if you need the salary relief, I think San Francisco's there for that.
And I will add another guy. He's a little bit higher priced, but Brandon Belt, he actually hit lefties really well last year. And you look at Anderson, and obviously he struggled his first two starts, not really going past the fifth inning. So you look at Belt when you add that he can hit lefties, and he might see two or three at bats against the bullpen, depending on how Anderson does. I don't mind Brandon Belt.
No, I mean the prices are really there for these guys, and as you said, he did hit lefties really well last year. Anderson's a guy, yeah. I mean, hasn't looked like the guy last year because last year he was actually decent for a Coors pitcher. Has kind of struggled a little bit out of the gates here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this isn't something that we're going to stack San Francisco, but I think one or two guys here or there could do some damage. So.
Let's get wrap things up here with us. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out our great tools and content.